Right, let's start. Hope it's audible to everyone. Right. So let me connect to the database. Done. Okay. So yesterday we have seen creating a trigger. Okay. One second. Let me just open that yesterday's example. Yeah. Yesterday we have created this particular trigger. We have created some two tables. Okay, so we have created the trigger on which table? EMP trigger. Whenever I insert a record in the table EMP trigger, it should automatically insert a record in what? Audit table. Okay, so similar to this, let us see one more trigger with a slightly different syntax. Okay, so this is the syntax we have used yesterday. Now let me create one more trigger. So what I want is I want to create some two tables first, like some products table and what some sales table. Okay, so try to understand products table and what sales table. In the products table, I'll store the what I'll store the product details like what is the product ID, what is the product name, and what is the stock left. Okay, all those things. And then in another table, sales table, I want to create what some fields like what here also I'll take some sales ID, what product name, quantity, and what price. Okay. So what is my requirement is whenever I insert a record into the sales table, whenever I insert a record into the sales table, it should automatically update product tables. Means I need to refer to the value inserted into the sales table. Okay, based on that value I need to update what product table. Okay, yesterday what we have done, whenever I insert a record into the one some x table, it should insert a record in what another table. We are inserting some current username and what some current what timestamp. Okay, but now I don't want to refer to any system fields. Okay, I don't want to refer to the system fields. Based on the value I entered in one of the table, it should automatically what update the other table. So let's see how to do it. So first let me create what two tables. One is product and another is what sales table. So I'll go to the catalog. Okay, as part of our schema Gensoft SQL, I'll open the SQL console. Initially, let me set the schema so that I need not prefix the schema name every time. So set schema, I'll give the schema name as some set schema Gensoft SQL. So this schema will be set for the entire session. Done. Schema is set. Right. Let us create the table first. Create table. I'll give the table name as something products. Okay. And as part of this, uh, what I'll take some fields like product ID. Product ID. Let me give it as integer primary key, and I'll give another field like product name, something varchar of what 20. Okay, varchar of 20. Then I'll give another field like stock. Okay, stock, I'll make it as something what integer. Then let me close the table. This is one of the table. Let me create the table. So I'll select that statement. I'll say F8. Yeah, table got created here. The table got created. Products table got created. Done. Next, I'll create another table. Create table. Create table. I'll give the table name as something what sales. Okay, create table sales. Then here I'll give some ID like what sales ID. Okay, let me give it as integer, what, primary key, done. Then I'll give another field here, product id integer, then product name. Let me maintain the same names for our convenience. Product name, I'll give it as varchar of 20. Then I'll give another field like quantity. Let us give it as integer, and I'll give some other field like price. Price I'll give it as what, integer. Close the table. Okay, so these are two independent tables as of now. So when I say F8, a table got created. Okay, table got created, done. Right, so we have these two tables. Now in this only, let me introduce to another database object called as what, sequences. Okay, then first let me copy this. Done. Okay, so we have two tables. Now what is my requirement is, uh, I want to insert the data into what, products tables. For every new record, I insert in the product table, this product id should automatically be what, incremented. I repeat once again, my initial requirement is, I want to maintain the data in the products table. Whenever I insert a new record into the products table, this product id should be automatically what, should be automatically incremented. Okay, so to achieve this kind of functionality, in our in most of the databases, we have one database object called as what, sequence. Okay, sequences. So you can understand that a sequence is similar to what, number range. Okay, it is just like what, generating the, automatically generating the number for what, sales order, billing invoice, etc. For example, if you take our SAP environment, whenever I create a new sales order, automatically the sales order id will be what, generated depending on the previous sales order number, automatically increment by one and generates a new sales order. So similar to that, what I can do is, I can create a sequence. Okay, I can create a sequence and associate that sequence to any number of table columns. I repeat once again, we need to create the sequence independently, and at later point of time, you can associate the sequence to any number of table columns. Okay, and this sequence I can create both by UI as well as by using what, SQL statement. So first let me go forward creating the sequence with what, UI. Okay, so now here, let me create the sequence first. So you can see here in our schema, yeah, in the schema you can see left hand side we have a object called as what, database object called as what, sequence. As of now, do we have any sequence in this? Let me open. No, we don't have any sequence. So let us create the sequence first by using what, SQL. So I'll say create sequence, just like create table, create trigger. We have what, create sequence. Create sequence. Let me give the sequence name as anything you can give. I'll give the sequence name as something, uh, prod id underscore sequence, any name. Okay, so I'm just giving a meaningful name, prod id underscore sequence, or I'll just give it as PID underscore sequence. Any name you can give. Done. Then I'll say start with what, one. What is the initial value you want to start with? So I'll say start with one. Then every time I want to increment by one. So I'll say increment by one. Okay. Then I'll say, okay, increment by one. Then I'll say min value I'll say 1. Then I'll say max value 100 something. Okay, then I'll use one addition called a cycle. Then if you want, you can use another addition called as cache. I'll say cache 5. So let me check whether I can create the sequence with this syntax or not. So the name of the sequence is what, PID underscore SAQ. So while creating the sequence, you can understand We are not relating it with any of the table. It is an independent object at this stage. Okay, so just provide the sequence them and provide all these additions. I mean to say options. Start with one, increment by one, minimum value is one, max value is 100, cycle and cache file. First, let me execute this. I'll select this. I'll say F8. Done. So the sequence got what? Created. The sequence got created. Let me refresh my sequence in my schema. I'll right click on the sequence. I'll say refresh. Done. So you can see the sequence got created. Okay, let me try to right click on this and I'll say open definition. Okay, I'm trying to open the definition for this. Done. So you can observe here, it is showing my sequence in the UI. What are that sequence name is so and so, start value, increment value, minimum value, max value, reset query. As of now not covered that, will discuss again going forward. And I made it a cycle. So what is the meaning of this cycle is, once it reaches what max value, once a sequence reaches max value, again it has to start from what initial value, that is from what again with what 1. That is the meaning of what cycle. Understood? If you don't give the cycle, it will stop at what 100 only, again it will not restart. If you give cycle, once a sequence reaches the max value, it restarts the sequence from what start value, start with value. Okay, that is the meaning. And I said cache what 5. What is this cache 5 means? It will store the next 5 sequence number. It will store the next 5 sequence number in the buffer for faster access. Okay, so this is optional. Even if you don't give, it's fine. But the meaning of this cache file is, it will store the next 5 sequence numbers in the buffer for faster access. So every time when it has to get the next value for the sequence, okay, it will directly get it from what buffer for faster access. Okay, so just to improve the performance of our sequence. Done. We have created the sequence. Any questions so far? Okay, fine. Now what is the next agenda here? I want to associate this sequence. Okay, I want to associate this sequence to what our what one of the column in the products table. Okay, so let us associate here. How do we associate? I want to insert the data, so I'll say insert into. Okay, insert into what is the earlier table? I give products. Insert into products. Okay, values again one, Sudhakar, again one second. What is the doubt? When it reaches 100, what will be the starting value in the second cycle? One only. That is the meaning of cycle. Okay, it keeps on starting from what 1 once it reaches what max value. If you don't give cycle, if you don't give cycle and if you stop here only, once it reaches the max value 100, when you try to say next value, it will give error because we are not instructed the database to restart it. Okay, that is the meaning of what cycle. If you are saying cycle, it will restart again from what 1 only, the starting value. Okay, so done. Insert into products values. How many columns are there in my products? Three columns. Product ID, product name, and what stock. So what is my agenda? I don't want to insert the data for product ID. Okay, it should automatically pick it from what sequence. Product ID, product name, and what stock. So what I'll do is, here I'll say what is my sequence name. Try to understand. So when I'm inserting the data into products table, I have to supply how many values? No, three values. So for product ID, what I'll do is I'll associate the sequence PID underscore sequence. Okay, dot. We have a property called as next val. Okay, for a sequence, we have a property called as next val. Dot next val, comma. What is this product name? Okay, so product name I'll give it as prod one, something broad one. And what is the other one? Stock. Okay, so let me give the stock as something 10. Okay, so let me check whether it will insert the value for what product ID or not. So I'll just execute this. Done. Okay, it is successfully executed. Let me query my table. So I'll right click on the table here. What is the table name? Products. Okay, so I'll right click on this. I'll say open content. Done. You can see here what is the product ID. It is instead automatically one, because we are saying what next value. What is the starting value there? One. Let me insert one more record. Done. Okay, so here I'll say dot next value. For convenience, I'll say prod 2, prod 3, prod 4, and prod 5. Then here I'll say 20 some values. Okay, 25. I'll say this as something 37. I'll say this as something 32. Something. Okay, done. Okay, so I'm trying to insert these four records. When I say F8, done, it duration of 4 steps is so and so. Now if I refresh my table content, you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one. Yeah, is it clear to everyone how to associate a sequence with a table column? Dot next val is a property of the sequence. Any questions so far?
Sridhar, is the mean value is going to maintain the running counter or what?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Min value. Yeah, min value generally the start value and minimum value will be what one only. Even if you don't give min value, even if you don't give min value, it will take the minimum value as what starting value. So this is an optional addition.
Can we see the running counter in the sequence where we can see the running counter?
Yeah. Okay. So as of now, what is the last sequence value here? 5. Okay. So
Yeah.
now I'll say select what is the sequence name? PID dot sequence. You mean to say current value, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, current value from dummy. Dummy is a dynamic table which will be available in every database. Okay, so select PID dot sequence. There is another property called as current value. Sorry, oh, it's not dot, right? Underscore, na, right? Select PID underscore SQ dot current value from dummy. So when I say F8, done. Yeah, you can see now what it is showing here. 5.
Okay. So minimum value is optional. It's nothing to
Yeah,
do with the counter.
nothing to do. Generally, even if you don't give that, the minimum value will be startup value.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, one second, let me copy it for my reference. Done. So you understood this? So dummy is a dynamic table which will be created by the database. Okay, so I can use the select statement as part of that to get any current value or next value, whatever it is. So the what is the current value of my sequence? 5. Okay. How to check field names for the sequence? How to check
Hello,
field
sir.
name? One second.
Hello.
Yeah, Devashish, bolo. Yeah, Devashish, what is the doubt? Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Devashish.
Uh, 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 Sir, actually, if you have 10 sequence at that time, so what is the current value of the domain?
No, I didn't get you.
Sir, if you have 10 sequence, 10 number of sequence, that is one sequence that is one sequence name is PID underscore SEQ. If another sequence name is PID underscore sequence one, so at that time, what is the current value of the domain?
Whatever is the current value applicable for that sequence, it will return that. Okay, as of now,
Okay,
for this sequence, what is the current value?
okay,
5 is there. Okay,
that
assume that
okay.
assume that you have created one more sequence. Okay, and
Yes.
We have associated that sequence to another table column, and you have done some 3 iterations, for example. And in that sequence
Okay.
also, starting value is 1, and every time you are incrementing by 1. Since you have associated 3 times, the current value would be 3.
Okay. Okay. Got
See,
it. Got it.
every time, if you want to use this
Mm-hmm.
property, we have to prefix with the
Mm-hmm.
sequence name, na? So it will have the intelligence.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. One second, let me take the message from the chat box. How to check the field names for the sequence? Venkat, you mean to say property names you are saying? This one, right? Property names. So for sequences also, you'll have one system view. I'll cover that. Just like for constraints and for referential constraints, we have seen some system views, na, constraints and referential underscore constraints. Similarly, for sequence also, you'll have one system view. There we can go and check what are the properties available for the sequence. These are not field names. These are called as properties of the sequence. Okay, generally you'll have basically these 2 things. What is that? Current value, next value, all those things. Okay, and these are the additions while creating the sequence: start, increment, so on, so on. So and you can observe that in the UI also, no? If you open that UI here, right click on the sequence and say open definition. So here also you can see we have start with increment by minimum value, maximum value, all those things. Okay, the same thing we are using in our by using our SQL statement. Done. Okay, so let me, yeah, dummy is a, you can understand dummy is a table which doesn't exist physically. Dummy is a table which doesn't exist physically. I mean to say, I cannot see the definition of the dummy. Okay, this dummy table is considered a runtime table which will be created by the database whenever we execute any select query. To hold the values temporarily, we can use this particular dummy. This dummy table is available in every database. Oracle, SQL Server, wherever it is, we can use it. This table we cannot see physically. No, no, it's not internal table, Manoj. It's not. Yeah, internal table is again we have to create now. Internal tables again you have to create that, then only we can populate the data in that, right? But here we have not created this, and even database also has not created this physically. It will be available only in the runtime to hold the values temporarily. Okay, done. So where we are now, okay, let me go back to the products table. Done, we have this 5 records. Now what I'll do is, yeah, my requirement now is what? If you observe this sales table, let me open the sales table. Yeah, in the sales table I don't have any data. Okay, so my requirement now is, okay, i want to insert I want to insert a record into this particular table. Which table? Sales table. Suppose assume that in the sales table, for product ID 3, try to understand this. For the product ID 3, I'll give the quantity as 5. Okay, for the product ID 3, I'll give the quantity as 5. So what it has to do? It has to go to the products table. For in the products table, what is the product ID here? 3 is there. What is the stock available? 25. 25. And what is the quantity I'm maintaining here? 5. So what should happen? 25 minus 5. So this should get updated to how much? 20. Means depending on the value I insert in the sales table, okay, it should differentiate that in the products table. Means I need to refer to the value of the sales and do the deductions in what? Stock column of the products table. Okay, I repeat once again. Suppose if you take this product ID 4, product ID is 4. What is the available stock for this product ID 4? 37. Now in the sales table, for the product ID 4, I'll give the quantity as 12. Okay, so one purchase has been happened. So quantity is what? 12. So what should happen? This 12 should be deducted from what? Products table. So 37 minus 12. It should become how much? 25. That is what is my trigger has to do. Okay, so let us see how to implement that. So I need to create the trigger now. On which table? Sales table. So I'll say create trigger, create trigger. Okay, so what is the table name? Product. Okay, so I'll give the trigger name as uh, prod stock update, something, any name you can give. I am giving the name as create trigger prod stock update. Then I'll say after insert on which table? Sales table. Done. Okay, yeah, yesterday, if you see the syntax, let me open yesterday's one. Yeah, if you see the syntax of yesterday's trigger, after insert on what? The table, for each row I said, for each row. But here, what is my requirement now? I need to refer to the values of that inserted row. Understood? Yesterday we have not referred to the value of the inserted row. Directly we are inserting into the audit table some system field values I am inserting. But what is my requirement? I need to refer to the values of the newly inserted record in the sales table. So what you have to do is, instead of saying for each row, so I want to refer to the new value. So I need to use the addition called as referencing. Okay, new row, these are all the keywords. Okay, referencing, the spelling is correct, yeah, referencing new row. Okay, as you have to use some alias name. Okay, for the new row we have to give some alias name. Generally we'll give it as new row. Generally we'll give it as new row, but again, if I say new row, we'll have a feeling that we have to give only new row. I can give any alias name. So since it is a startup, I'll give the alias name as ABC, alias name. Then you have to say what? For each row. Okay, so let me put it separately. After insert, so and so, done. Referencing new row as ABC for each row. This is row level trigger. Then I'll say, here I'll say begin. Okay, begin and what? End. So here I need to write my business logic. Okay, so what is the agenda now? based on the based on the quantity I insert in the sales table for the product ID, I need to what? Deduct it from what? Products table. So I need to update my products table. So how do we do the modification of the table data? We have one DML statement called as update. So far we have seen select, insert and delete. Now I'm using what? Update what table? Products table. Update products. Done. Set which column you want to update in the product? Stock column. So I'll say set stock, sorry, set stock is equal to, done. Okay, current stock, what is that? Again, stock only. Stock minus I need to refer to the quantity I entered in the sales for the newly inserted row. What is the alias I have defined as part of my trigger? ABC. So I'll say colon ABC. You have to prefix it with colon. We call this as transition variable. We will be using this colon elaborately now onwards. So we call it as a transition variables. Colon ABC dot which column I need to refer here? QTY, quantity. So I'll say QTY. Done. Okay, where where what column? What is the column name? Prod ID. Where product ID equal to the newly inserted product ID in the stock table. This one. Okay, so I'll say here, sorry, yeah, here I'll say what is the alias I defined? ABC, yeah, colon ABC dot. There also the column name is what? Prod ID only, no? Prod ID. Done. That's it. So this is my trigger definition, trigger business logic. Okay, so what is the change I have done here? Yesterday I have not used this referencing. All these are optional. Now I am using this. Why I am using? Because I need to refer to the content. I need to refer to the newly inserted values in the stock table. So I have to say what? Referencing new row. Okay, referencing new row, as we have to give some alias name. But generally if you see any what projects, no, they'll give it as what? New row. Okay, but again, since it's the startup, I am giving my own name. I'll give it as what? ABC. So this is alias for my new row. And for each row, done. So I'm updating the products table. Which column I need to update? Stocks column. I need to deduct current stock minus newly inserted quantity in the stock table. So what is the alias for that stock table? ABC. So ABC.qty, where product ID equal to the newly inserted product ID in the stock table. So I'm saying this is the product ID of the products table. This is the product ID of the stock table. Okay, so let me try to execute. I'll say F8, done, no errors, fine. So it is successfully inserted. Now, as of now, my sales table doesn't have any data and products table is having so and so data. So let me try to insert the data into what sales table. Acha. Now what I want is, uh, okay, in the sales table, did I give any primary key? Yeah, sales table I gave what primary key. So now what I'll do is, let me create one more sequence. I want to create one more sequence, not by using this statement. I want to create the sequence by using UI, and I want to associate that sequence to a column called as SID of the table what sales. Okay, so let me do that. Before that, let me make a copy of this. The reason why I'm copying is in case suddenly if any power goes down, it will be difficult again. Done. Okay, so what is the agenda now? First, let me create a sequence with UI, based on UI. So I'll just here, as of now, we only have one sequence. So how do you create a new sequence? Right click on the sequence. I'll say new sequence. So sequence can be created both using SQL editor and by using what? UI. Trigger can be created only by using what? SQL, not by using the UI. So right click on the sequence and I'll say what? New sequence. Done. Okay, sequence name. Okay, so for my convenience, let me give the sequence name as what? SID underscore what? SEQ. SID underscore SEQ. Start with what? With what value you want to start? It's my wish. I want to start with 15. Increment by 1. Minimum value generally will get as 15. The start value only. Maximum value also something 35. Okay, reset query again, I'll cover this later on. Okay, so this is based on some other concept, just ignore it and let me make it a cycle. This is our optional thing. Okay, so start with so and so, so and so, done, done, done. Let me try to execute this. Okay, this is the values I maintained. One second. Yeah, I just copied that screenshot. Done. So I'll just click on the execute button. Yeah, you can see the state, the sequence got what created. You can see at the background, create sequence so and so, increment by what, starting with 50 minimum, same thing what I wrote, cycle. So it's successfully executed, done. So sequence is ready. What is the sequence name? SID underscore what? SEQ. Now let me maintain the data in the stock table. So I'll say insert into, what is the table name? Stocks. Insert into stocks values. How many columns are there in my stocks, sorry, sales table? Not stocks, boss, sales. Insert into sales table. How many columns are there? 5 columns. What is that? SID, product ID, etc., etc. So for SID, I want to associate the sequence which I created just now by using what? UI. So I'll say here, what is that sequence name? SID underscore SEQ dot next value. Dot next value. Then I'll give the product ID. Okay, product ID. So what I'll do is, let me go to the product table. What are the product IDs available here? 1 2 3 4 5. Let me give the product ID as what? 4. Okay, so I'll give 4. 4 and I'll give the product name. Let me get as product 4 for example. Then what are the other columns? Quantity and what? Price. I'll give the quantity as something what? 8. Okay, and I'll give the price as something what? 250. So now what should be the understanding? For the product ID 4, what is the quantity and what selling now? 8. The quantity I am selling is what? 8. So what should happen is this 8 should be deducted from a products table. Okay, means for this product ID 4, what is the current stock level? 37. So 37 minus 8, this should become automatically what? 29, because the moment I insert a record into the sales table, since a trigger has been defined on this table, this trigger gets executed automatically. It will do the follow-up action. What is that follow-up action? It will update the product tables by what? Deducting the stock with what? Newly entered quantity in the sales table. Okay, so answer. Let me try to do this. Execute this. I'll say F8. Done. Rows affected, so and so. First, let me go to sales table. Okay. So when I refresh, yes, you can see here. What is the, yeah, good. You can observe here. What is this? 15. What is the starting value? 15. Product ID is 4. Done, done, and so on. So what is the quantity here? 8. Now if I go to products table, earlier it was 37. Let me refresh now. I'll refresh. Good. It has become how much? 29. 29. Okay. So yesterday someone asked me, I think Gautam, you asked me, how do you refer to the entered values? So this is the concept. Okay. Let me insert one more record. Insert into sales value so and so, so and so. Let me take this one. Okay, I'll go for this one. Product ID is what? 5 year. What is the available stock? 32. So I'll say what? 5, and product name I'll give 5, and this I'll give something what? 13. 13 I'm giving, and I'll give some price. So for the product ID 5, what is the stock I'm selling now? What is the quantity I'm selling now? 13. So the current stock value 32. So 32 minus 13, it should become how much? 19. So let me try to execute, and sequence previous value is what? Now it will increment by 1. Okay, so previous value is 15. It will increment by 1. Now it will insert 16 now for the what? ID, sales ID. Let me execute this. F8. Done. So if you observe this, first of all, the sales table. Done. I got 16 here. Done, done, done. Now if you go back here, earlier it is 32. When I refresh, it has become how much? 19. 19. Hope it's clear to everyone. Any questions so far? Please ask.
Hello, sir. How to debug this one?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. No, we cannot debug triggers because triggers are executed in the background. Now, am I calling the trigger explicitly? I am not calling the trigger explicitly. Now, the moment
Okay.
the moment I am doing some insertion on this table, at the background, this trigger gets executed. So going forward, we'll discuss procedures. The difference between procedures and triggers is procedure we need to call explicitly. So when we call explicitly, we have the option to debug that procedure, but trigger are executed at the background. They are automatically called for doing some follow-up action, so we cannot debug the trigger. Am I clear, Devashish?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, the main thing you have to focus is we are not calling the trigger explicitly. Just I created the trigger, I've executed. I've executed the trigger got created. Okay, on which table? Sales table. Whenever I'm doing some action, whenever I'm doing some data insertion in the sales table, it is doing some follow-up action by executing this trigger at the background. No questions? Okay. Now, what I'll do is, let me show you one more simple thing. Right, so we have created the sequence, done, done, done. What is the current value of the sequence here? One second. Okay, let me query from here only. I'll say select what? What is the sequence? SID dot SCQ. Okay, dot current value from where? Dummy. From dummy. Okay, so when I execute this, What is the current value? 16, I think so. So not dots or underscore. It's underscore. Right. Let me execute this. When I say F8, yeah. What is the current value? 16. This we know. So when I say next value, it will become how much? 17. Okay. So yeah, Pulara, any questions?
Yes, Sridhar.
Yeah.
Regarding the trigger, if we have the serious logic in the inside the trigger,
Okay.
okay, something goes wrong, and we want to see the something log or something, even if we're running in background.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we do some logging thing?
Yeah. Again, we have to go for a concept called as exception handling. Okay. By using that
Mm-hmm.
exception handling, we can capture the messages and we can analyze it at later point of time. We can.
Yeah, yeah, just like background messages,
Yes,
background
yes,
jobs.
yes, yes. You'll have the logs to understand the execution of this background job. Yes, we can do it.
Okay,
Okay,
that's fine.
so yeah, right. So what is the current value of this sequence? 16. So what I'll do is current value is 16. So I'll use a statement called as alter sequence. Okay, alter sequence. What is the sequence name? sid.seq, not dot boss underscore. SID underscore SEQ, I'll say restart with the current value is at 16. Okay, I'm changing only one value, that is restart. Restart with 16. So I'll make it as 21. Okay, restart with 21. Let's see what happens now when I execute this. When I say F8, done. So restart with 21, done. Now let me go to the sequence definition and check whether I can see that in the UI. One second, let me right click on this sequence. I'll close all these things. Yeah, I'll right click on the sequence. I'll say what? Open definition. Good, good, good. It got reflected in the UI. What is that here? 21. So like this, I can change all the other parameters of the sequence. So I'm saying what? Restart with 21. Now, now I'll say dot next val also. So probably let's see what happens. Dot next value from dummy. When I say F8, done. What I got it, because just now we have instantiated the sequence. Okay, done. Now again if I say next value, it should give me what? 21, sorry, 22. It should give me 22. When I say F8, yeah, I got 22. So what is the current value? 22. Now see what I'll do. I'll say now done. Insert into sales value. So before I execute, let me query my products table once again. Yeah, so if you take this product ID 2, what is the available stock? 20. Okay, now I'll say insert into sales siq dot next value 5. Okay, not 5, 2. Product is what? 2, and I'll give this as something 6 and some data. Okay, done. So what is happening here? We are inserting a new record into the sales. New record into the sales for the product ID 2. What is the quantity I'm inserting? 6. So this 6 should be deducted from where? This product ID to 20 should become much? 14. And what is the sequence? Current sequence value I got 22, so it should become what? 23. Okay, let me query this sales also. Open content. Yeah, what is the last SID here? 16. The last SID is what? 16. Okay, so let's see what happens when I execute this. F8, done. Okay, it got inserted. Let me check the what sales first. Refresh. Good, I got how much? 23. Done. 6. And if I go back to the products table, when I refresh, this 20 should become 14. I got how much? 14. So this is absolutely working fine. Hope it's clear. Understood? So what I'm trying to show is I can alter the sequence parameters. Not only this one, any parameter I can alter. Any parameter I can alter. Okay, let me try to drop the sequence. I'm trying to drop the sequence. Drop sequence. drop sequence what sid underscore what seq sid underscore seq. Let me execute this. Sorry, semicolon. Execute this. Yeah, sequence got what dropped. Sequence got dropped. Let me try to refresh this. I click on the sequence and I'll say refresh. It might have refreshed. Yeah, you can see now it is showing only one sequence now. So since the sequence is not available physically, I cannot use it. Am I clear? So like this, we can check the current values, next values. We can alter the sequence parameters. Okay. Initially, you might have created the sequence with the cycle. Later point of time, you don't want to create the sequence. You want to alter the sequence as no cycle. So just say alter sequence them no cycle. That's all. No cycle. Okay. Anyway, I'll share all those syntaxes going forward. Then let me just copy this.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Tell me.
Hello. Sir, here we are finding the next value of the sequence. Can we find how many are there in the sequence, like the count of the sequence?
Aman in the sense.
Like now I'm starting with 1 and I'm ending with 10, so that I will have totally 10. I can have a 10 capacity, but I would have inserted only 3 or 4 as of now. 3 or 4 sequence have got created in the records.
Okay.
Can I check the count of the sequence?
No, that we can't do it. We can't.
That we have to do in the table only, right, sir? The table
Table.
only we have to find it.
No, see, one thing you have to remember is sequence is not dependent on any table column. Okay, so
Okay.
I might have attached it to what multiple table columns. Whatever is the
Okay.
last value is there, it is not dependent on table. Sequence values are maintained in the sequence level. Okay, sequence current values are maintained in the sequence level. So it will pick up that value. But what are the other values, what are the previous values generated so far? We cannot observe that. We cannot see that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other doubts?
Sridhar, even the select of the sequence is giving the p
Correct.
increment by 1.
Yes.
Uh, in generally, we want to check simply the count, running counter.
Current value.
So even
Current
also is
value.
incrementing. That is
No,
a
no,
maybe seems me
no, no.
advantage.
No, if that is the case, don't use next value. Use current value.
Okay, yeah, but seems me still uncomfortable because
No, that's what.
sometime
I understand your
yeah.
query. What you are saying is just for testing purpose, you have used next value. So even though this is not your original table, okay, if you
Mm-hmm,
increment that
mm-hmm.
value, it will consider the incremented value the current value for the next generation. So if you don't want that, use current value only.
Yeah, because see, sometimes no one can control that. Say we in the project we have an n number of people. Anybody can use anything if you have the access.
Correct. Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so in that case we can't control, and it is going to skip some of the numbers automatically, even if there is no
Yes.
transaction.
Correct, correct. Yeah, we don't have any control on that, Blaro. No, we can't do any kind of restriction. The only
Okay.
option available is you don't give that sequence permission to the required users.
Okay.
Restrict the access of that sequence to the all the users in the project. Give it only to the restricted users.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sridhar.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
Hello. Yeah, Sridhar, can we change the parameter of the sequence from UI?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not? Let me check. Let me check. Suppose from UI you are saying, na UI. I don't think so. Let me check. One second. This is my
Yeah.
sequence. Okay, I'll open the definition. Is it editable here? No, it's not doing. no, we can't
Okay.
not. So again you have to go for what? Alter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yesterday also I think we observed that once you create a normal table, again I cannot change it to what? Global or local by using that UI. Okay, so you need to drop it and again we need to recreate it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now, just before I wind off, let me start with the introduction of the procedures, just to give you an difference between what trigger and what procedure. Okay, so what is my requirement is I want to create a procedure. So what is a procedure? You can understand a procedure is like a subroutine in our ABAP. When do we go for subroutine? If there are some set of statements which has to be executed repeatedly at multiple places, instead of writing them again and again, you can enclose them as a block of statements inside a subroutine, and you can call it at n number of times at different places. Similarly, in this HANA database also, we have database procedures. Okay, so when do we go for database procedures? If a business, if the same business logic has to be executed at multiple places, multiple times, then we'll go for creating it as what? Database procedure, so that I can call it what? N number of times. And just like subroutine also I can create it with parameters or what? Without parameters. Procedure also I can create with parameters or without parameters. So procedures is the most important thing for what a native and a developer. So focus on this. This process will discuss each and everything. So just here I want to create a simple procedure. So you can see here I'll right click on the procedures in the schema. I don't have any option to create the procedure. See, I'll say here anything like new procedure. No. So procedure has to be created from the SQL editor only. So let me create a procedure. So my procedure is it has to just display some welcome message. So I'll say create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as schema is already there. Okay, I'll give the procedure name as something. What shall I give? Yeah, say hello. Okay, procedure name as say hello, and here I'll use this brackets. Actually this is not required because I'm not dealing with any parameters at this stage. Okay, I'm not giving that. Then I'll say as begin. Okay, so what is my requirement? I would just want to display some welcome message. So I'll say select welcome to procedures. Okay, welcome to procedures. From here also what dummy. Okay, and also what end. Done. So I created a procedure, simple procedure I created. Okay, let me execute this. F8. Done. Procedure got created. Okay, procedure got created. Let me refresh my procedures node here. Right, if I expand this, yeah, you can see now we have something called as what? Say hello. We have something table types also. Okay, we have not yet created anything so far. 1 second, it is loading that. But what is our procedure here? Say hello. Okay, now what is the next requirement here? I need to call that particular procedure. Okay, so how do you call a procedure? Just like if you take our ABAP environment, we use perform to call a subroutine. To call a function, we say call function. To call a method, we say call method. So here I'll say call. Okay, call. Acha, one more thing I'm doing. I am calling this procedure directly. I can call a procedure from another procedure. Okay, I can call a procedure from a trigger. Okay, so once we discuss some examples, some procedures, again I'll go for what? Triggers. So when I go for trigger, at that time I'll try to frame the example for what? So far using after, I'll use before, and I've used new row, I'll use old row and new row. Okay, so again we'll come back to the triggers with the combination of what? Procedures. So call, what is my procedure name? Say hello. So I'll simply say call say hello. Here if you want you can give this brackets, but not required. Let me check. Okay, call say hello. Let me execute this. I'll say F8. Done. So I got a message, what? Welcome to what? Procedures. Understood? So just we are trying to understand how to create a simple procedure. Okay, and how to call a procedure. How to debug the procedures? Yes, we'll discuss it elaborately from tomorrow onwards. Okay, right. This is one procedure. Let me create one more procedure quickly. I'll say create procedure. Okay, create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as something. What procedure 2 something. Okay, procedure 2, and I'll say begin begin. I'll say declare. Okay, declare just like data keyword in ABAP. To declare any variables, here we use declare. If you take our UI file or JavaScript, we use dim keyword. Okay, here we use what declare. Generally we'll start the variables with the v underscore x. I'll declare it as integer. Then I'll say v underscore x, okay, is equal to what, 10. Okay, then I'll say select v underscore x as, okay. If you observe the earlier result, what is the column label I got here? Welcome to procedure. The content also I got is welcome to procedure. So I'll say select v underscore x as my var something, my var from what, dummy, from dummy, and I'll close this. I'm closing that. So, and I'll say let me execute this. I'll say f8. Done. Procedure is what, created. Procedure is created. Let me what, refresh. So I got the procedure. Okay, let me try to open the definition from here. One second, I'll just close all these things. Okay, so I'll right click on the say hello. I'll say open definition. Okay, so I don't have any parameters for my procedure. If I go to create statement tab, yes, it is showing me this one. Done. Okay, let me open the other one. Right click on this, open definition, create statement. Right. Okay, so now let me try to execute this. I want to call this procedure. Okay, how do I call, what is the procedure name? Procedure 2. Okay, let me execute this. I'll say f8. Done. What I got, 10. Okay, so what I'm trying to show here is how to declare variables in our scripting, I mean to say your procedures. Okay, by using what keyword, declare. Okay, and then, okay, if you see the result here, what is the label, column label I got here? My var, alias, just like an alias. Okay, so this is a simple way to create the procedures. So tomorrow onwards, what we'll do is we'll try to develop a complex procedures, and then we'll try to what, debug the procedures. We'll try to call a procedure from what, triggers. Okay, we have something called as in parameter, out parameter, in out parameter, all those things. Okay, so actual procedures will start developing from what, tomorrow onwards. Any questions in this part, please ask me. Done. So we understood how to work with sequence, and we understood that referencing new row, old row in our triggers concept. Okay, and we understood how to alter the sequence. Then we understood how to create a simple procedures and how to associate the sequence to your table columns.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Gautam.
Sir, can we create multiple columns for sequence? Here we are creating only one column for sequence. Like it can have multiple rows, but now we are creating only one column. Like it
No,
will get incremented.
okay. Right.
Can we create multiple columns? Like I can refer, if I want this value, I can refer that column for something like other thing, which should start from 100 to
Procedures
200.
are sequencer.
Sequencer.
Okay. Can you repeat that question once again, please?
So here in sequence, we have only one column, that is which starts with 1 and ends with some 100.
Okay.
Like we have
Max.
given the
Okay.
syntax.
Max value.
Now I want max value. Like that one, I want another column, the same sequence, which should start from 100 to 200. So that while
No, no.
inserting the statement, I can refer the sequence for that column. If I want to use the first column, I have to refer the first one,
No.
or else I have to go with the second one.
A sequence syntax will be like this only. Your requirement is, you want to, there are two columns in your table. There are two columns in your table. For those two
Okay, sir.
columns, you want to attach different sequence values. That is what is your thing, right?
Okay.
Okay. So at that time, you need to create two different sequences.
Okay.
In one sequence only, I cannot maintain two set of values. Not possible. We have to
Okay,
create
sir.
we have to create two different sequences and associate each sequence to what different columns.
Okay. Okay. So is it possible in procedure, sir?
Procedures, how procedures related to sequence?
Okay,
Procedure is
sir.
what? Procedure is a set of
No, I'm asking
statements.
even in okay, even here also we are just declaring one variable only, no, sir.
No, no,
Just I'm
here
asking.
I can declare any number of variables, okay, and I can
Okay.
display any number of variables. For each variable, I can provide my own alias name. So I'll say v
Okay.
underscore x as myvar, v underscore y as myvar2, like that I can provide.
Oh, okay, sir. Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
But we can write business logic, right, Sridhar,
Yes, yes.
for
We,
selecting.
we will write, going forward, we'll write complex business logics. As of now, just I gave the introduction. Okay. We'll write complex business logic, which has to get the data from our database table, which has to do the calculations, and the calculated result should be sent to what some other select query. All those things we'll write.
Yeah, even while for the Gautam question, we can write the sequence numbers just like sequence dot next, but the value of the next record is going to skip.
Obviously, right? Obviously. So what you are saying is you want to attach the same sequence to multiple columns, right?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
We can do that, but the
yeah,
record now sequence is not
yeah.
going to be proper.
Sequence uniformity will not be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vijay, what is the doubt? Yeah, we'll discuss that from tomorrow onwards, Vijay. We'll discuss that from tomorrow onwards. Okay, right. Okay, so I'll stop for today. We'll continue tomorrow with procedures with parameters. Chalo then. I'm winding off.